If you get the pricing right and you get the exposure and marketing right, we're confident that deals can be done, and that's being seen over the last few weeks.
Matt, thanks for joining me for our November 2025 property market update.
Thanks for having me.
So let's kick things off as we normally do with property prices and activity. What are we seeing locally across our patch of Cambridgeshire?
October was a very steady month in regards to house prices. There is still high stock levels. So ultimately, sellers are looking to compete against that stock. And so there's always been sort of price reductions, considerations. All you've got to do as a buyer is log on to Rightmove and you'll see those price reductions happening. But that is just people competing and just getting the level right. That has then resulted in still an active market. And we've been very, very busy.
Yeah, we've seen quite a good month in October, haven't we? I think we accounted for about a quarter of all the sales across our patch of Cambridgeshire. So yeah. Were we expecting that?
Yeah, I think October we always hope will be a busy period after we've had the summer holidays and before we start talking about Christmas. So we were hopeful that October would be busy, but ultimately we've got lots of things at play here. We've got the looming budget on the 26th of November with lots of if, buts and maybes surrounding that. We weren't sure if that would make people nervous about committing. That certainly hasn't been the case. And even when you look at, we're in the first couple of days of November now, we've continued that amount of sales and that trend of having deals tied up. So things are certainly looking very positive at the moment. Like I said, price sensitive, you've got to get the pricing right, you've got to speak to your local expert about that. But ultimately, if you get the pricing right and you get the exposure and marketing right, we're confident that deals can be done, and that's being seen over the last few weeks.
Absolutely. And we're very early in November, but we're, like you say, we've got the budget announcement coming up, but we've also got the Christmas period coming up as well. Last month with Megan, we touched upon kind of the New Year launch and whether are you better launching now, are you better waiting until the New Year? What's your take on that? Because I've got Megan's, I'd like to get yours.
Yeah, definitely so. There's not... Probably like before, there's not a right or wrong answer here. Obviously, if we get further through the month, it might lean more towards the New Year launch. Something to take into consideration, we're always referring back to last year. So November last year, we had a great sales month. I know the St Ives number's better than others. So St Ives, for example, had 21 sales in November last year. So that will show, as long as the looming budget doesn't have too much influence and the early signs are good that we've got offers on the table, that there is still lots of opportunity to get a sale done now rather than launching your house in the new year. Like I said, as we progress through the month and we get closer to perhaps the budget, learning what the budget has, we are conscious that obviously straight after the 26th of November with the budget, we're pretty much going into the Christmas market. So it comes down to, have you found a property? If you have, there's no reason why you shouldn't be launching your house now. But if the New Year launch is right for you in regards to getting your house prepared, getting your photos taken before the Christmas decorations go up and get everything sorted with a view of launching a house in the new year, if that appeals to you, it's certainly something worth speaking to our team about, because we're getting that all prepared and ready for that new year
I suppose the most important thing is start the conversation. Now, if you've got those plans, get some advice, and we can figure out what's best. What's best,
like you said. And you might inquire and say, I want to move, but New Year might be right, and we might turn around and say, we think we've got someone to be interested in your house, and it's about having that conversation with the offices where you're located.
Absolutely. So moving away from sales, because the other big news is the Renters' Right Bill was passed. Because we're so early on after that, we've not got all the details, and the government said that they're going to roll that information out. But what have we done to prepare for that? Yeah, so we're keeping our landlords fully up to date, and we're keeping them up to date with any more news that then gets filtered through. Like I said, it's been announced, it's been passed, but ultimately we are being drip fed this information as letting agents, and we are then feeding that back to our landlords, making sure that they stay compliant with regards to these new rules and regulations. The bit of advice that we're giving people, especially landlords that are self-managing, so looking after their own portfolios, we're really advising that they need to go and speak to an expert. We'd love that to be us, but ultimately they need to speak to an expert, because there is so much changing in this bill
bill, they need to make sure that they remain compliant. So we're really encouraging, look, it's just a phone call. They can have a conversation with us, or they can pop their heads into the office and just have those conversations. Yes, obviously we can tell them what services we provide, but ultimately it's about them learning and being educated about what's going to be happening. We're keeping our landlords updated as standard. We can provide them that update, but again, to protect themselves, they probably need to be speaking to those letting experts.
Absolutely, yeah. It's not really anything to fear, but
No.
I think the problem is if you were to bury your head in the sand,
Yep.
like this has come in, you've got to deal with it.
Yeah, definitely so. You've got a lot of the stuff letting agents are doing already, in a sense, and there's just tweaks to how that's organised. But like I said, yeah, if you bury your head in the sand, you might you just literally might not be aware of something, which then can put you in hot water further down the line. Whether that is an instant thing, it comes down to that thing you might have neglected now might bite you further down the line when it comes to a tenant leaving or anything else like that. So speak to that expert.
And if anyone wants advice, so this is either about the Renters' Right Bill or about New Year launch or moving or selling, what do they need to do?
Yeah, the usual message. So you need to contact your local office. You'll get the option to then go through to rentals or sales, and that will put you in touch with the right member. And they'll either provide you the advice on the phone, or they'll put you in touch with the right person, and we can provide all that information for you, whatever you're deciding to do. As much as there's lots of news around budgets and renters' rights bills and everything else like that, there's lots of opportunities out there. So if a move's on the cards or rentals on the cards, come and speak to us. We'd be happy to help.
Great. Thank you, Matt. Thanks for joining me.
No, thank you very much.